So, let's talk about compassion. I mean, what does it really mean to be compassionate? It's one thing when helping someone is easy, right? When it fits into our schedule. But what about when it costs you something? That's what we're digging into today, this idea of compassion that goes way beyond just being convenient. Okay, just imagine this for a second. You are absolutely rushing. You've got a huge meeting, your mind is just racing with a million things you have to do, and then you see it, someone on the side of the road, and they are clearly in trouble. What's the first thing that pops into your head? It's that split-second decision, right? Do you stop? It's a tough spot we've all probably been in. And you might think this is a totally modern dilemma, a product of our busy lives. But it turns out one of the most powerful answers actually comes from a story that's about 2,000 years old. Yeah. And it's a story that kind of forces us to hit pause and rethink who we're actually supposed to help. So the story kicks off on this road between Jerusalem and Jericho, which back in the day was known for being super dangerous. There's a traveler just minding his own business, and he gets ambushed by robbers. They take everything, beat him up, and just leave him for dead in a ditch. He's totally helpless, in the worst possible shape. A little while later, a priest comes walking down that same road. Now, this is the guy you'd totally expect to be the hero of the story, right? A religious leader. But when he sees the wounded man, he literally crosses over to the other side of the road and just keeps on walking. Then another religious official, a Levite, comes along, and he does the exact same thing. The two people who were supposed to be the moral role models, they deliberately chose to do nothing. And then a third person shows up, a Samaritan. Now, this is where the story gets really interesting, because to understand the punch this packs, you have to know that Samaritans and Jews at that time were bitter enemies. They did not get along. So the Samaritan is the one person who has every cultural excuse to just walk on by. And guess what? He's the one who stops. So what is really going on here? This story is so much more than just a simple tale about being nice. It's actually designed to completely blow up the answer to a really important question. Who exactly is my neighbor? Okay, so let's break this down, because the difference in mindset here is huge. The priest and the Levite, they saw a problem, something messy, inconvenient, something that might make them ritually unclean or just throw off their whole day. But the Samaritan, he saw a person, a human being who was hurting. So he didn't avoid the problem, he crossed the road right into the middle of it, even though it put his own safety at risk. And right here, this is the mic drop moment of the whole story. It completely flips the question. It's no longer who qualifies as my neighbor. Instead, it becomes who was a neighbor to the man in need. And the answer is obvious, the one who showed mercy. So a neighbor isn't defined by their address or their background or their beliefs. A neighbor is simply anyone you meet who needs help. But wait, there's more. The story doesn't just stop there. It goes deeper, showing us that real compassion, it's not some warm, fuzzy feeling. No, it's about intentional, tangible, and yep, costly action. I mean, just look at what this guy actually did. First, he stops. His whole schedule, gone. He sacrifices his time. Then, he becomes a first responder using his own oil and wine, which were valuable supplies, kind of like a first aid kit, to clean the man's wounds. Next, he puts the wounded man on his own donkey, which probably means he's now walking. And he doesn't just drop him at the nearest town and say, good luck. He takes him to an inn, pays the innkeeper out of his own pocket for a room, and then promises to come back and cover any other expenses. Wow, that's compassion that costs time, resources, comfort, and money. So what's the big takeaway from all this? Well, you can pretty much boil it all down to this one really powerful idea, something I like to call the inconvenience principle. And here's the bottom line. This is really the heart of it all. Being kind when it's easy, when it doesn't really ask anything of us, that's great, but it's not the whole picture. This ancient story is telling us that the real test, the true measure of our compassion, is what we're willing to do when it's hard, when it messes up our plans, when it's, well, inconvenient. And that brings us full circle, right back to where we started. Back to you, on your crazy busy day. The people we pass by, in the office hallway, on our commute, even online, they're the modern version of that man left on the side of the road. So the question this story leaves us with isn't for someone else, it's for us. It's a personal one. Who is on the other side of your road today? And are you going to cross it?